Welcome to Trade Pro. In this video, I'm going to show you a simple trading strategy that uses VWAP, 600 period EMA, and the MACD indicator. But before I get into the strategy, make sure to like the video, comment down below for the YouTube algorithm, and subscribe if you haven't. If you want 2 free stocks valued up to $1,850, use my Webull link to sign up down below and deposit $100 to get those 2 free stocks. You don't even need to continue using the Webull platform. You can literally get the free stocks, sell them, take the money, and leave if you do not want to trade using their platform. Of course, I get a commission if you guys use my link, so check that out if you don't have Webull or you haven't gotten your free stocks already. All right, so let's get into the actual strategy here, starting with the indicators. So first, as I said, we have a 600 period EMA, okay? This is our long-term trend direction indicator. Then we have a standard VWAP, and here are the settings. You can simply type in VWAP, and you're going to get the built-in standard VWAP indicator on TradingView. Then we have a MACD, which can also be replaced with a RSI, stochastic, or other sort of entry signal indicator. Now, how this strategy works, it really goes with the trend and gets you in to good points on the pullback so that you're not entering at an extended portion of a move at a bad time where it's not at an area of value. So we're using the VWAP as an area of value and then finding a good entry signal. So if anyone has been watching my channel for a while, they know that my style of trading is identifying a trend and then waiting for a pullback and entering into that trend direction on a pullback at a good point of value, okay? So what the VWAP does for us here is we wait for a trend and then we only enter positions once price is pulled back to above or below the VWAP. So if we're looking for a long position in an uptrend, we can only enter a long when price is below the VWAP, okay? So anytime price goes below the VWAP, you're going to start looking for an entry signal in an uptrend. And for a downtrend, you're looking for a short only when price is above the VWAP, okay? So how do we know? How do we know what the trend is? Well, if VWAP is above the 600 period EMA and price is above the 600 period EMA, that's your uptrend. You're only looking for longs times when price pulls back below the VWAP. And in a downtrend, VWAP is below the 600 period EMA, price is below the 600 period EMA. You're only looking for times when price comes above the VWAP for a short position. So what this does is it keeps us out of bad trades where we're entering at extended portions of the trend. We want to get in on a nice pullback, not right before the pullback's about to occur because we're likely about to get stopped out. So we're waiting, being patient, getting in at an area of value on a pullback. And the reason why you can use multiple different indicators like the MACD, RSI, stochastic to actually give you a nice entry signal is because it doesn't really matter. We're simply looking for, it could even be a candlestick pattern or something along those lines or whatever your thing is. We're simply using this rule of making sure that we're going with the trend on a good pullback that's below or above the VWAP already in order to get a good entry. So when we add this rule into our criteria, we're never going to be entering at a terrible time, such as right at the top here, 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 here. We're entering down below the VWAP line in the direction of the trend to get a better entry each time at an area of value, okay? So I don't want to reiterate it too many times, but it is an important thing when trading with the trend, with my style of trading. And you can do this multiple ways, but this is just another way to trade with the trend, okay? So, if we look actually closely at all these pullbacks in these trends, we find areas of value below the VWAP line. So we're only entering buy positions when price is below the VWAP. And you can get phenomenal results by simply following that rule and adding it to your list of criteria. So even if we just go out and just look through this, almost all the time, if your criteria is being followed, you're going to be getting in at areas of value, okay? Only when price comes below are you entering into a long position, all right? So you can see just by going through all of this that look how well it works when you actually follow a criteria that tells you, hey, you can't trade unless the price has pulled back to an area of value at the VWAP line and you're going with the trend. Of course, you're going to have times like this where it just crumbles or the trend changes and you're going to get stopped out, but we're trying to be successful over a series of trades, and this puts the odds in our favor. All right. So how can you use the MACD or RSI or stochastic to actually make this a little bit better? Well, there's a few ways that you can use them. One thing is you could say, okay, I'm going to make sure I only take a short position when the MACD and signal lines are above the 0 line of the histogram. Or you could say, hey, I'm going to look for divergence, bearish divergence for a short using the histogram or the MACD in order to enter a short position. So you could do something like this. Okay, well, price has now pulled back to the VWAP line. We're in a downtrend below the 600 period EMA. And so obviously I'm allowed to look for a short position now that price has pulled up to the VWAP. What can give us a better idea of when to actually go short is maybe, okay, we got a strong bearish divergence with a higher high on price here, but a lower high on the MACD and histogram. So that is how you could use the MACD, by looking for divergences like this. So, we get pullbacks multiple times into and above the VWAP line, and you could just make sure that you are spotting a good divergence. So here, you wouldn't enter because you obviously don't get a good divergence on any of these. But when you look over here, we do get that divergence. So we get a higher high, but at the same time, we get a lower high on the MACD and the histogram. Okay, so using these things combined, you can just make sure you're getting in at good areas of value. And the main rule is following that you only take positions with the direction of the trend, waiting for the pullbacks that go below or above the VWAP line for an area of value. Okay, so obviously I've said that a lot of times in this video, but it's an important thing to follow with your strategy, and you can do multiple different ways to actually get an entry into these trends, whether you want to just be waiting for a cross up on the MACD to get an entry after price goes below the VWAP in an uptrend. Most times when price pulls back to the VWAP, you can get a solid long entry. Even when things start getting a bit more choppy, things come down here, you still can get in some decent long positions even once things start to reverse a bit. All right. So, remember, we're not trying to win every single trade. You can't possibly do that, but we're trying to make sure we're only entering the best trades. So we don't want to be entering when price is extended way up here. We want to be entering down here when the pullback comes back to the VWAP. Okay. So you can just go through and see if you were to stick to this rule and only take positions when price is pulled back above or below the VWAP line, depending on the trend direction, that you're going to be much more successful than trying to pick areas that could be at the very bottom or top right before a large pullback or reversal. Okay. So, you can look at all the data, but you're simply, as I've said many times, putting the odds in your favor, trying to find an area of value using the VWAP and the 600 period EMA to make sure you're going with the trend, only entering at periods where you are at an area of value. And you can even use candlestick patterns or chart patterns or whatever you want to draw on your chart. You can make it an art project, but as long as you're following the rules of the 600 period EMA and the VWAP, you're going to be much more successful. And look how choppy it is here. But still, if you're looking for a long only once it comes down here, because you're having some sort of entry criteria, you're going to be much more successful. Maybe you can catch some of these spikes. Okay. So obviously I'm leaving it a little open-ended, but my main way of trading is by making sure I'm only entering at times where I can have a good risk reward ratio at an area of value. Okay. So that's it. It's a simple method of trading, and it works on every pair because every pair has its periods of time trending. And when you go with the trend, you instantly put the odds in your favor, and you put the odds even more in your favor when you follow a set of rules that tells you what the trend is and where the areas of value are to be entering. Okay, so I know it's very repetitive, but it's because this is important. You guys need to be doing this stuff with your trading. I think that this is the best way to be successful long term. You can very easily spot these pullbacks, especially when you're using a simple method like this with the VWAP. Okay, I think that kind of covers things. Maybe I'll pop up an RSI here, just see what we can do with an RSI, maybe some divergence, or let's see, get rid of the MACD here. So, you know, in this we have lots of areas where we get pullbacks to the VWAP, and you can simply just look for divergence. So do we get a higher high? So this is our peak on the RSI right here. We do get a higher high over here, and of course we do get a bearish divergence right at this peak compared to this one. So, you know, that could be another method of entering by spotting that divergence, waiting for the RSI to come back down below the 50 line. Let's see if we get anything here. Yeah, no divergence on this one. Let's see if we get a bearish divergence here. No, not really. This one, we do get a bearish divergence. But, you know, I'm just playing around with different ideas to ways that you could potentially look for an entry signal, whether it be, you know, you could even do this. You could even say, okay, I'm going to, once it has pulled back into the VWAP, you could even draw a line. It could even be a trend line guy. And, you know, you could say, okay, when it breaks down, I'm going to be shorting right here. So your short entry would be way down here. So it's not ideal in this specific instance, but if your stop loss is going to be the previous high, you know, it's not that big of a deal. So let's say you do short it right here, you know, stop loss goes above that previous high, and you're just targeting 1.5 times or 2 times your risk because you're looking for a full-on trend continuation here. Okay, so we're actually looking for a full trend continuation, not just like a small move to the downside. We want to get in on the full trend. So how we place our stop loss, you know, is indicative of that. So if we're looking for a pullback into the VWAP, then we're going to be entering at some point above the VWAP over here, and then placing our stop above a previous high. So maybe this peak right here, maybe this peak over here. But you want to give yourself good wiggle room because we're trend trading. We don't want to get stopped out, and then targeting a good risk reward. So either 1.5, 2 to 1, even higher than that, depending on how far away your stop loss is. But you know, this video, I'm kind of just getting more into different things you can do, less of a really specific thing to follow. You know, if you're waiting for pullbacks into here, again, you could be, okay, we got oversold on the RSI here, so that could be your trigger. And I'm just giving you guys ideas for different triggers. And then you could be saying, okay, where do I want to place my stop? Well, we had this pullback here. Maybe you want to go all the way down here, because if this were to be broken this far down, you do not want to be in that trade anymore because the trend's likely reversing. And then targeting a good risk reward ratio for a continuation of this trend to a new high. Okay, so just some ideas that you guys can think of, whether you're doing a divergence or you're doing just an overbought, oversold on the RSI, using the 50 line of the RSI, just simply using price action, or, you know, just different ideas that you guys can employ. But the general idea that I want you to think of is going with the trend, waiting for an area of value on a pullback. Okay, if you do that, your results are going to be better in the long run. And obviously we can't win every trade, so just make sure that you're consistent and you're following the rules of your strategy. Okay, I think that's all I have to say on this one. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Bit of a different, not scripted whatsoever, and just kind of freestyling what I'm going through and saying here. So make sure to like the video, check out the Webull link for 2 free stocks valued up to $1,850. Of course, I get a commission and support to the channel. Check out the Patreon if you're interested, if you want to continue seeing the content on the channel. And thank you guys so much for watching. Appreciate all the support. Have a fantastic day.